All right, let's dive right in. If you're a Linux user, you've probably heard these two names a ton, x.org and Wayland. They get tossed around in forums, in release notes, but what do they actually do? Well, they're basically the secret sauce that makes your desktop work. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and figure out what makes your desktop tick and which one is the future.
I mean, have you ever really thought about it? How all this stuff just works? You wiggle your mouse, the little arrow moves. You click an icon, a window pops up. It feels like magic, doesn't it? But of course, it's not. Behind that smooth experience, there's a whole complex system calling the shots, and that system is run by something called a display protocol.
Okay, so a display protocol. Sounds kind of technical, right? But it's actually pretty simple. Just think of it like the air traffic controller for your monitor. It's the rule book that tells your web browser how to talk to your graphics card, and your graphics card how to put pixels on the screen. It's the unsung hero making sure everything you see looks exactly how it's supposed to.
First up, let's meet the old guard, the reigning champ, the one that's been powering Linux desktops for, forever. We're talking about x.org, or as you might see it, X11. And to get what it does, think of it like a big, old central post office. Every single thing an app wants to show you, every letter, every window, every pixel, it has to be sent to this central hub first to get sorted, stamped, and then finally delivered to your screen.
So inside this post office, Xorg has a whole team of specialists. You've got the X server, that's the head postmaster, the big boss. Then you have the X clients. Those are your apps, like Firefox sending in the mail. Then you've got a window manager who's like the mail sorter deciding which P.O. box each window goes into. And sometimes you even have a compositing manager to add fancy effects like see-through envelopes. Now, this is super flexible, for sure. But having all these different people talking to each other for every single letter, yeah, that creates a ton of back and forth and can really slow things down.
And you can really see that round-trip journey right here. An app doesn't just draw on the screen. Nope. First, it has to send a request to the server. The server thinks about it, processes it, maybe asks the window manager for its opinion, and only then does something finally get drawn. Each of those steps might be tiny, but they add up. That's where you get that little bit of lag, that slight stutter when you're dragging a window around or playing a game. It's all those postal workers talking to each other.
Okay, so that's the old way. Now, let's meet the challenger, Wayland. If Xorg is that big, bureaucratic post office, Wayland is like a direct next-day courier. It was built from scratch to just get rid of all the middlemen. The whole point was to make things faster, more secure, and way more streamlined for the kinds of computers we use today.
And this is where you see the genius of Wayland. It looks at that whole team of specialists in the Xorg post office and says, nope, we don't need all that. It combines the job of the display server, the window manager, and the compositor into one single, super efficient component. And that component is called the compositor. In Wayland's world, the compositor is king. It handles everything, no more middlemen.
And look how much simpler this is. The app just draws itself. It creates the final picture right in its own little space, a memory buffer, and then it just hands that finished image over to the compositor and says, hey, put this on the screen. That's it. No back and forth, no sending requests and waiting for an answer. It's a straight shot, which totally cuts out all that latency we saw in the old system.
Okay, so we've met our two contenders. We get the basic idea behind them, right? The old post office versus the new courier. So now it's time for the main event. Let's put x.org and Wayland in the ring head-to-head and compare them on the things that actually matter to you: security, performance, and, of course, compatibility.
And this right here is probably the single biggest reason people are so excited about Wayland. With Xorg, because everything goes through that central hub, any app can see what any other app is doing. Let me say that again. It can see your keystrokes, it can screenshot other windows. I mean, that's a massive security hole just waiting to be exploited. Wayland, on the other hand, was built with security in mind. Every app is in its own little sandbox. Your web browser has no idea what you're typing in your password manager, period. It's a complete game changer for security on the Linux desktop.
All right, this table really breaks it all down for us side by side. You've got Xorg's modular team of specialists versus Wayland's simple, unified compositor is king model. Then there's rendering. Xorg is indirect, which means more latency. Wayland is direct, which means more speed. The security difference, as we just talked about, is just night and day. But here's the catch.
Legacy support. Xorg has been around forever, so pretty much everything just works. Wayland is the new kid, so for older apps, it needs a little help from a compatibility layer called Wayland. So, the big question, who wins? What's the final verdict? Well, like with most things in tech, it's complicated. It's not about a simple winner or loser. It's really about what you need, because the choice you make really does affect your day-to-day experience, from the apps that'll work to how secure your desktop is.
And it all boils down to this one core trade-off. Look, if you rely on some older, maybe kind of obscure applications, or you do a lot of screen sharing, or use really specific features like running apps over a network, then Xorg is still your super reliable, it just works option. But if what you really want is that buttery smooth performance, perfect video with no screen tearing, and a much more secure system, then yeah, Wayland is absolutely where things are headed.
And you don't have to take my word for it. Just look at the trend. The momentum is undeniable. Xorg is still a big deal, you can't ignore that, but its share is shrinking, while Wayland's is just climbing and climbing. You've got huge distributions like Fedora and Ubuntu shipping with Wayland as the default now. The writing is on the wall. The transition is happening right now. So we'll end on this thought. The future is pretty much here. Wayland is modern, it's secure, it's efficient, and it's getting better literally every single day. The technology is ready. The real question is your desktop ready for it? When will the apps you use catch up, and when are you going to make the jump? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.